Hi, and thank you for visiting my website, myphagetherapy.com. If you're here for more information on phages, please feel free to look around. I've spent hours compiling a video collection as well as a collection of news articles from different sources. They'll give you pretty much all the information you could ever need on phages, what they'll do for you, where they come from, the science behind them. But the reason why I wanted to make this video is really to share with you my story and explain to you how myphagetherapy.com came about. In January of this year, 2017, we were celebrating my father's 70th birthday. We had guests from all over the place, he was dancing with the grandkids, and it was really a lovely do. But only 7 days after his birthday, he started developing a fever. We took him to the hospital, and after doing some blood tests, they realized that his infectious counts were actually through the roof. So they decided to keep him in, and after a few days he developed an abscess right here under his left chest. And when they did, they immediately took him into surgery to open up the abscess, to drain it out, which caused the temperature and that to come down right away. But after analyzing what the abscess was, they discovered that he had a staph infection, or MRSA, and they immediately started treatment on antibiotics. Now, the first time he had a staph infection in his chest was in December of 2013, just around Christmas. He was in Paris and he ended up at a French hospital, and afterwards transferred to a hospital in Berlin where he gets most of his treatment. And when he was in Berlin, they discovered that he suddenly had MRSA, and this infection was very serious. So they put him on what they call Phage therapy, where they suck out the infection and try and contain it that way, as well as on a course of antibiotics. Now it turns out that that treatment actually took 6 months of him being in hospital on some seriously strong antibiotics, but eventually he got through it, got home, everything was fine. Then a couple of years later, in the summer of 2016, he once again developed this abscess, ended up at the hospital. This time he was in there for 4 months, also on antibiotic treatments and Phage therapy. But this time the antibiotics really took their toll on all his organs. His kidneys started failing, and his liver as well. They told us he'd need a new liver, a liver transplant. And after 4 months of, again, Phage therapy and antibiotics that had all these side effects, including Clostridium, he was once again able to come home, but this time it had really only lasted about 3-4 months before the infection came back again. So this was the third time he was going into the hospital for the same thing, same infection that they kept clearing, and then it would keep coming back. And this third time was really the hardest. I mean, he's been in hospital now for close to 5 months. And when they discovered the abscess again, and they said it was MRSA, within a few days it had actually gone into his lungs. He developed pneumonia, then into his bloodstream, sepsis. They put him on really strong antibiotics, vancomycin and the gang. And eventually the sepsis cleared up and the pneumonia, only to come back again. And we were fighting back and forth, but meanwhile all this antibiotic treatment was really taking its toll on his other organs. He was going through kidney failure, again liver failure. He'd gained 20 kilos in liquid because of his renal function, which 20 kilos is about 40 pounds if you're watching this in the US. And basically the situation was dire. The doctors were pretty much saying that the wound was too big, they wouldn't be able to close it up, and ultimately that would kill him, and to brace ourselves. So I started looking for alternative medicines, alternative treatments, and I came across phage therapy. I'd never heard of it before. At first, looking at it, it seemed like some obscure treatment from from the former Soviet Union. But then I started reading about it and educating myself on phage therapy. And what a phage is really is it's nature's way of dealing with bacteria. Wherever you find bacteria, you will find phages that are there fighting and containing those bacteria. If phages weren't there, this whole planet would be one big bacteria. As a matter of fact, in one drop of seawater, you have over 1 million phages. They're literally everywhere. And there are many, many, many more phages than there are bacteria. But I'm not going to get into what phages do and how they work and so on. You can look around the site. But basically, I got in touch with the Eliava Phage Institute in Georgia. Now that's Georgia next to Russia, not Georgia on the northern border of Florida. And asked them if the phage therapy would be useful in treating my father. And the first thing they said to me is that I had to get a sample of the infection. I had to get a swab to them. So I immediately got in touch with the doctors and said, listen, I need these swabs to send right away. And I got them out there. And within a few days, they actually came back and said, yes, they have phages that are effective in killing this bacteria. So I decided, okay, phage therapy is something I'm going to do. My father was too sick to fly to Georgia. There was no way we could take him there. So my plan was to go to Georgia, get the phages, bring them back, and get him treated over here. Which is what I did. And I tell you, Georgia was an amazing country. I mean, I'd been there before, is an amazing country. I'd been there before on other businesses. I speak Russian. And I met with the people at the Eliava Institute, collected the phages, flew back to Spain, and the treatment began. Now, it was a 20-day treatment that consisted of two things. One was treating the infection locally. So at the time, he was already having vac therapy, which pretty much is a vac inside, a vacuum that's sucking out the infection. And the plan was to take out the vac, put in the phages, the liquid phages, let them sit there for a while, let them take their effect, and really do this treatment every other day during 5 days. So that was a 10-day treatment. And we did it in combination with the vac. So we would do the cleaning, we would then put the phages, let them sit for about 4 hours, and then put in the vac and start the vac therapy. And then, from the moment he started this, he also had to drink the phages orally for 20 days. So the full treatment was actually 20 days. And after 20 days, they took swabs of everything they could. They did blood tests and everything. And I'm happy to say that after 3.5 years of battling MRSA, he is now infection free, and it is simply amazing. Now, if you haven't heard of phages before, I'm not surprised. I hadn't. And to me, that's a crime. The fact that there are cures out there that could help people that are not only dying, but think about all the diabetics and all the people that have local infections in their legs that are being faced with having to lose a limb. And phages are very, very effective at curing these things, infections that are due to lack of circulation. I mean, they have absolutely amazing results, but people are just not informed and don't know about it. I think that's one of the reasons why I decided to create this myphagetherapy.com, is that not only should people know about phages, but they should also have access to them. I mean, Georgia is an amazing country, like I said, but having to go there and speaking a different language, a new culture, can be overwhelming, especially if you're going through an infection right now. So myphagetherapy.com is pretty much there to pave the way for phage therapy in Georgia, whereby we help with everything from booking your flights, translators, drivers, your appointments, dealing with the doctors. Basically, from the moment you land in Georgia for your treatment till the moment you go away back home, hopefully as good as gold and cured. we're there to help you and assist with all the needs that you might have. If you can't get to Georgia and you still look at the idea of having phage therapy treatment, then like my father, we could maybe talk about having the phages delivered to you. But either way, if you're here because you or a loved one are currently suffering with a bacterial infection and you already have tried whatever it is that the doctors have recommended and you're just getting to a point where you just can't anymore, or the doctors have told you that you can't anymore, please contact me. Let me talk to you. Let's see how we can coordinate this with the Phage Therapy Center in Georgia, and see if phages can help you and if they can be as successful for you as they have been for me and my father. So once again, thank you for visiting my website. My phone numbers are all scattered all over the place. They're at the top in the header. You have a contact form right underneath that you can just fill out, and I'll respond within 24 working hours. But if you do have a serious emergency and you'd like to get your answers right away and you'd like to move on this as quickly as possible like I had to, feel free to call my mobile phone. I'll be more than happy to take the time and talk to you and answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much for watching.